Hi, passionate Rangers FC fans. Welcome to Rangers Update, your dedicated source for all things Rangers. Before we dive in, we want to express our gratitude for your unwavering support. If you bleed blue, don't forget to subscribe, smash that like button, and let's strengthen our community. Now, let's get into the latest updates. A hearty welcome to our new followers. Your backing means the world to us. WATP. Let's get to the news. The rumor swirling around Ibrox this week has ignited the kind of debate that only football in Glasgow can produce, and it all centers on the sudden and unexpected decision by Rangers manager Russell Martin to bar his goalkeeper Jack BUTLAND from the squad. Supporters have been looking forward to the weekend's fixture with a sense of momentum, but the word began to spread midweek that BUTLAND, who has been one of the steadiest figures in the team, would not only be left out of the starting lineup, but completely excluded from the matchday selection. The reasoning for Martin remains shrouded in mystery, with club insiders refusing to provide clarity, and that lack of transparency has only fueled speculation. For fans, BUTLAND's absence is not just about tactics or form. It strikes at the heart of stability, for the goalkeeper has been seen as a leader both on and off the pitch. In pubs, on fan forums, and across social media, the chatter has escalated into outrage, with many questioning whether this is the first sign of fractures between manager and players, or worse, between manager and supporters who are demanding answers they have yet to receive. Rangers fans pride themselves on loyalty, but loyalty comes with an expectation that commitment is matched with clarity and respect, and in the eyes of many, Russell Martin has failed on that front. The decision to drop Jack BUTLAND has been described as a needless provocation, a managerial misstep that risks alienating the dressing room as well as the terraces. Observers have pointed out that BUTLAND's performances have not warranted such treatment. His saves have secured vital points, his presence has reassured defenders, and his experience has guided younger players through tense fixtures. For Martin to suddenly cut him off without warning feels less like a tactical adjustment and more like a personal statement, a show of authority that may backfire spectacularly. As the whispers grow, some suggest a heated disagreement in training may have sparked this bold move, while others hint at off-field issues that the club is desperately trying to keep under wraps. Regardless of the truth, the perception is damning because supporters feel blindsided, and when trust erodes in Glasgow, it does so at a pace that can be unforgiving, relentless, and difficult to reverse. This story has taken on a life of its own, with journalists chasing shadows and fans piecing together theories from scraps of information, and that is precisely why it has become so damaging for Russell Martin. A simple explanation, even a vague assurance, might have calmed the waters, yet the silence from the manager's camp has amplified the discontent. The outrage has spilled into radio phone-ins where lifelong supporters speak of betrayal, insisting that a club like Rangers cannot afford to gamble on untested goalkeepers in the midst of a campaign that demands silverware. BUTLAND's removal is not being seen as an isolated event. Rather, it is being interpreted as symbolic of a manager who is either out of touch or dangerously stubborn. In Scottish football, perception often matters as much as reality, and the current perception is of a man picking unnecessary fights with the very foundations of his own team. The tension now hangs like a cloud over the training ground, with every gesture, every rumor, magnified under a microscope that threatens to destabilize the entire season. It is worth remembering that Jack BUTLAND arrived at Ibrox with questions hanging over his career, and it was in Glasgow that he rediscovered his reputation as a top-class goalkeeper. That redemption story resonated deeply with the Rangers' support, who embraced him as one of their own. To see him treated, in their view, with such disregard feels personal, like a rejection of the bond that had been carefully built over months of commitment and consistency. Fans speak of the countless times he has bailed out the defense with fingertip saves, the command he brings in organizing set pieces, and the calm he offers when pressure mounts in the most hostile of environments. All of those qualities are now being ignored, or perhaps even dismissed, by a manager determined to stamp his authority on the squad. But in doing so, Russell Martin risks undoing not just BUTLAND's progress, but the trust of the entire support. For supporters who have lived through turbulence and upheaval in recent decades, the idea of self-inflicted instability feels like an insult, and it has created an emotional rift that may not be easy to heal. The more the days pass without clarification, the more theories multiply, and none of them are flattering. Some fans insist this is nothing more than a clash of egos, a manager unwilling to accept a challenge to his authority, while others whisper of deeper issues, possibly related to contract clauses, appearance bonuses, or even behind-the-scenes politics that rarely come to light. In a city where football dominates every conversation, such speculation becomes gospel in the absence of facts. And that is the dangerous territory Rangers now inhabit. The decision to bar BUTLAND has not just been about team selection. It has become a lightning rod for all existing frustrations about recruitment, strategy, and the perceived lack of ambition from the boardroom. Russell Martin, intentionally or not, has put himself at the center of a storm, and storms in Glasgow football rarely pass quietly. They tend to intensify, drawing in every grievance, every doubt, until they explode in a frenzy that consumes managers, players, and sometimes even entire seasons. It is that prospect which now haunts the corridors of Ibrox, where silence only deepens the suspicion that something is terribly wrong. As the weekend approaches, anticipation has shifted into apprehension, because supporters are no longer simply excited for the next fixture. They are waiting to see what further drama will unfold. Will BUTLAND be reinstated, or is this exile permanent? Will Russell Martin finally address the issue head-on, or will he continue to dodge the questions, hoping the fury subsides on its own? In the meantime, rival supporters revel in the chaos, gleefully mocking Rangers for yet another internal crisis, while pundits sharpen their criticism, warning that the club risks derailing its own season. What began as a selection shock has become a full-blown narrative of discord, power struggles, and mistrust. The irony is that all of this could have been avoided with transparency. Yet football in Glasgow rarely allows for calm explanations when rumor offers far more fuel for outrage. Now, every slip on the pitch, every misjudged pass, will be measured against the backdrop of BUTLAND's absence, and that magnifying glass ensures that Russell Martin's gamble, whatever his reasons, has placed him in a precarious position where only results can offer redemption, but even results may not repair the damage already done. The fury of the Rangers support has not lessened with time, and the second act of this saga feels even more combustible than the first. When Russell Martin walked into the press room after training, all eyes were fixed on him, waiting for clarity, yet none was given. His vague references to internal decisions only served to confirm what many feared, that this was not about form or tactics, but about control, authority, and perhaps even pride. The reaction was immediate and hostile, with journalists pressing for details and fans flooding online spaces with anger and disbelief. It is in these moments that managers either unite a squad or fracture it irreparably, and Martin's choice of silence has leaned dangerously toward the latter. BUTLAND himself has remained dignified, offering no comments publicly, which only raises further questions about whether he has been silenced by the club or whether he simply refuses to fuel the fire. The absence of his voice leaves a vacuum, and in that vacuum supporters are free to imagine the worst. In Glasgow football, imagination often becomes reality, and it is that transformation which now threatens to overwhelm the fragile authority of Russell Martin. What complicates matters further is the history of Rangers' managerial appointments and how supporters have grown weary of constant upheaval. They have seen managers come and go, each promising stability, each insisting they would restore dominance, only for controversy and inconsistency to take hold. Martin's decision to cast aside BUTLAND has, in the eyes of many, reopened old wounds of distrust. They recall previous seasons where questionable selections led to costly defeats, and they fear this is the beginning of yet another cycle of self-inflicted turmoil. That fear is amplified because BUTLAND represents more than just a goalkeeper. He is seen as a symbol of reliability, the one position where Rangers could not be questioned. By removing him, Martin has effectively removed that sense of security, creating vulnerability where there had been confidence. The anger is not only directed at him, but also at the board for allowing such chaos to fester without explanation. Every day that passes without resolution deepens the divide, and when trust is broken at Ibrox, it does not easily return. For a club that prides itself on unity, this latest storm feels like yet another betrayal, one that could linger long into the season. The wider footballing world has now taken notice, with pundits across Scotland and beyond dissecting every aspect of the fallout. Television panels debate whether Martin has lost control of the dressing room, while former players question his judgment, pointing out that upsetting a key figure like BUTLAND is a dangerous gamble. Rivals have seized on the narrative with glee, suggesting that Rangers are once again imploding at the worst possible time. For fans, it is humiliating to see their club become the subject of mockery, especially when the crisis feels so avoidable. Yet what makes this episode so unique is that no one truly knows the core reason behind the decision. The lack of clarity means every theory holds weight, and supporters cling to whichever explanation suits their frustrations. Some insist it is about a clash of personalities, others argue it is punishment for something unseen, while a few even whisper about deeper tensions between players and coaching staff. In a city where football fuels every conversation, this uncertainty is intolerable, and until answers come, speculation will remain the loudest voice, drowning out performances on the pitch and clouding every result with suspicion and anger. Before we continue, make sure to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications to get all the exclusive news about Rangers FC. Don't overlook any details about your beloved team. It's crucial for Rangers FC fans. The atmosphere at Ibrox has shifted palpably, with tension hanging heavy in the air during training sessions and match days. Supporters arrive not simply to cheer, but to protest, to voice their discontent in chants and banners aimed directly at the manager. Players, caught in the middle, must navigate the delicate balance of supporting their boss while knowing how beloved BUTLAND is among the fans. That dynamic creates cracks, subtle but dangerous, within the squad itself. Dressing rooms thrive on trust, and when a decision as drastic as this is made without explanation, doubts spread like wildfire. Whispers of players privately backing BUTLAND only add fuel to the fire, suggesting that Martin's control is slipping with each passing day. Footballers are professionals, but they are also human, and when one of their leaders is cast aside without reason, loyalty becomes divided. The danger for Rangers now is not just in dropped points or poor performances, but an erosion of unity that can derail entire seasons. Every look, every conversation, every body language cue becomes a headline. And in such an environment, stability is a distant dream, replaced by suspicion, pressure, and the constant fear of collapse. Ironically, some believe this controversy could be salvaged if handled with transparency and humility. Yet those qualities have been absent from Russell Martin's approach so far. Instead of addressing the matter directly, he has relied on vague phrases about discipline and focus, which only stoke further anger. Supporters do not want riddles. They want truth, even if it is uncomfortable. If BUTLAND is aired, they believe the club owes them honesty, for in Glasgow football the bond between fans and team is sacred. Without that honesty, every silence is interpreted as deceit. The board, too, faces criticism for standing idle, watching as the storm engulfs the season before it truly begins. Their refusal to intervene makes them complicit in the chaos, and many argue they should have stepped in to mediate before the fallout escalated. The longer they remain quiet, the more culpable they become, and the more supporters question their ambition and competence. In such an environment, patience runs out quickly, and the energy of the stands, once supportive, risks turning poisonous. If Rangers lose not just games, but also their unity, the consequences will reverberate far beyond one goalkeeper's exile. Ultimately, the saga of Russell Martin and Jack BUTLAND has become more than a football story. It is a drama of power, loyalty, and identity, set against the backdrop of one of the most passionate footballing cultures in the world. Rangers supporters do not merely watch football. They live it, breathe it, and demand that their club reflects their values of strength, transparency, and unity. In casting aside BUTLAND, Martin has challenged those values, whether intentionally or not, and in doing so, he has ignited a battle that may define his tenure. Results alone may not be enough to win back trust, for trust once broken is rarely restored quickly in Glasgow. What is clear is that the silence cannot continue. Answers must be given, clarity must be offered, and reconciliation must be pursued, or else the rift will widen beyond repair. Rival supporters watch gleefully, the media thrives on the chaos. But for Rangers fans, this is no laughing matter. It is a crisis of identity, of leadership, and of the very soul of their club. Unless resolution comes soon, this episode will not merely be remembered as a rumor, but as the spark of a season undone. Greetings, fans. Make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel, as it's greatly appreciated by Rangers FC. And don't forget to share your thoughts on the news in the comments section below. Until the next video, stay tuned.